All right, so we are at day 2, lesson 2 of block 6 of topic 4 on applications of percents and dealing with fees, tips, commissions, and profit. So in the last lesson, we found out that the profit from Haley's cash register was $181.87. What is the total profit from the 2 registers after all the commissions and concession fees had been paid? Well, we'd have to go back up and say, all right, well, we know the profit from Haley's was 181.87, and we need to add that to Vanessa's profit. So I'll have to scroll back up, find Vanessa's profit. The total minus the expenses, 241.12. Okay, $241.12. So after both the girls were paid their commissions and they paid their concession fees, we take their total profits and combine them. And it looks like, make sure I'm not doing my math wrong, because, sometimes I'll start talking and I'll write stuff and it'll be wrong. So total profit from the 2 registers works out to be $422.99. Okay. So let's go on to question 5. It says that you calculated the fees and commissions for each girl individually and then added the 2 total final profits, right? Would we get the same answer by adding all their sales and then finding the fees, commissions, and profits? If you want to guess on that or speculate on that in the chat, I would be happy to welcome that. Do you think we would get the same if we combined Haley's and Vanessa's total sales and then calculated the commissions and fees to come up with the total profit overall? Would we get it? Okay, somebody doesn't think so. All right. Anybody else want to speculate on that? Of course, there's only one way to find out, right? For sure. And that would be to combine their total sales. But if we combine their total sales, I'm just going to, what's the spoiler alert? Okay, spoiler alert. If you were to add both their total sales, you might be maybe a penny off in their total profit, but that's about the size of it. Because if you add all their total sales and then you find 15% of that for the fees and the 10% for the commissions and subtract those from their total sales, you're still going to come up with $42.99 or maybe $4.23. You might be a penny off at the very, very most. So yeah, you will actually get the same answer. Can you get the same answer? Yes, you can. So, but exact same answer. It just depends on your calculations, I'm sure. But yeah, you're not going to be off by much at all. All right, so let's take a look at this. It says after question 6, after 3 games, total sales from the lemonade is $1,206. Now, the girls want to buy new uniforms, and it's going to cost $1,000. Can the girls buy the uniforms? All right. Now, remember, we are looking at total sales. Remember what I talked about earlier? Total sales doesn't mean profit, right? Because they can only get to keep the profit. They still have to pay commissions, and they still have to pay concession fees. So you can only determine if they're going to have enough money by looking at total profit. So let's take a look at that. Now, if you subtract 10% for commission, right? So if you take your total sales and you subtract the percent for the concession fees, and don't forget the commission for the girls that are working the cash registers, then you're going to get your profit, right? Now, Remember, the fees for the concession stand was 15%. And the commission for the girls was, gosh, do I have room to write that? Sure, 10%. So if you have to subtract 15% and 10%, what percent is left from 100%, right? 100% minus 15% and minus 10%, you're going to be left with, you're taking 25% off from the 100%, right? So their total sales is 100%. And you're going to subtract 15 and 10. So that's minus 25% total. So you should end up with 75%. So they get to keep 75%. That's their profit. So you take the total sales and subtract the commission and the concession fee. Their profit is 75% of their total sales. So that's pretty easy to figure out now, because with this question, we have to figure out what is 75% of that 1,206. So 0.75 multiplied by 1,206. What's their profit going to be? Let's find out. 75% multiplied by 1,206. $904.50. So if the new uniforms cost $1,000, are they going to be able to buy the uniforms yet? Sadly, no, they won't have enough. The poor girls. They're going to have to sell some more stuff at the concession stand. Bummer, bummer, bummer. All right. Now, let's take this to the next question then. We're having such a good time. Question 7 says, and remember, anytime you've got a question, just type a question mark into the chat and I'll stop and we'll address your question. The girls received $250 in tips. Oh, if the total sales from the lemonade after 3 games was 1,206, what percent of the sales were given in tips? Okay, let's read this one more time. They received $250 in tips. So that's what they got in tips. Now, if the total sales after the 3 games was 1,206, what percent were they given in tips? So we know how much they got, but we want to know what percent did they get in tips? So remember, tips are, they're a percent of the total. But what we don't know, we're looking for what percent of sales were they given in tips? So what we could do with this is we could write this sentence out as an equation. So what percent, right? So we want to know what percent of 1,206, so X multiplied by 1,206, what percent of 2006 is $250, right? So that's how we can figure this out. So 1,206. Now I'm going to go over here to the sidebar so I can do some calculating. Are you with me? You with me so far? What percent of their sales, 2006, is 250? Because that's what they got in tips. So X multiplied by 1,206 is 1,206X, and that equals 250. All right, divide both sides by 1,206, one-step equation to figure out what X is. Now, of course, it'll give us a decimal. 250 divided by 1,206. And it's an interesting decimal, 0.20729, and so on, right? But We know that this has to be converted into a percent. Means we're going to multiply it by 100, which that means the decimal is going to move 2 places over. So X would be about 20.7%, which if we were to round that up to a whole percent, about 21%. Okay. So questions about the tip scenario. If you have any questions, I would be happy to discuss it with you. But I think we're good. So far, so good. All right. Now let's take a look at this next one. Question 8. Ooh, we're already to the reinforcement questions. All right, question 8, the reinforcement questions. Marco paid $25 for a meal, including a 25% tip. So the tip is included in that $25. How much was the meal before he added the tip? Okay. Well, we have to kind of take this thing apart. And, you know that when you go to a restaurant, you're going to pay for the meal. And of course, you're going to leave a tip if they do a good job. But funny, whether they do a good job or not, they still get charged by the IRS as if they got paid a tip. Anyway, so the meal plus the tip will equal the total, correct? So, do we know how much the meal was? No, because that's how much was the meal. So in this case, that's our variable, X. X is the missing meal amount plus the tip. Now, we know that the tip is based on the percentage of the meal. So in this case, it's 25% of the meal cost. So we're looking at 25% of the meal, and that's going to equal the total. And the total in this case is $25. So we've got the startings of a really great equation here. So X plus 25% of X, well, that's X plus 0.25 times X, if you're with me, equals 25. All right. Now, one step further, how much is X plus 0.25X? Remember, that X is the same thing as 1X. So 1 plus 0.25 is 1.25. X equals 25. We are so close. We are almost there to knowing what the cost of the meal is. Here we go. Divide by 1.25 on both sides of our equation. Those cancel each other out, and X equals 25 divided by 1.25. 20. $20 is what Marco paid for the meal. Now, the thing about questions like this is the important part is being able to critically read them and understand how tips and fees and commissions and all that kind of stuff works, right? So that's the tricky part. But once you master that, it's really easy to break it down and go step by step by step by step. All right. So I believe that's all the time we have today. There are 3 more reinforced questions, and I think I'm going to add those to the assignment. So I think we're done here. So let me stop the recording